Welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here. So glad that everybody is listening to us on We Act Radio, our syndicated stations all across the nation, weactradio.com. Many of you are also watching us on our YouTube live stream, takeactionnews.com, live video Ustream. If you want to see how radio gets made, it's not always pretty, it's not always easy, but it's always interesting. You can go to takeactionnews.com, and of course we'll have YouTube clips throughout the week on our Take Action News TV channel on YouTube. We want to talk a little bit about an interesting connection that we discovered this week between Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, which is his company, and Deforestation of the Rainforest. And that News Corp has a book publishing unit, HarperCollins. And HarperCollins, apparently, we are told, has been contributing to the deforestation in Indonesia. Well, how does that, what's the connection there? Well, here to help us explain it and what all of us can do, because a lot of us, a lot of people, a lot of you out there care about deforestation, what's happening in rainforests around the globe. Here to talk about it is Rainforest Action Network's Robin Averbach. Robin, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So, Robin, explain the connection between HarperCollins and deforestation of the Indonesian rainforest. Explain that connection.
Yeah, so in Indonesia, one of the leading drivers of deforestation is the pulp and paper industry. And so what's happening there is, at a first level, these companies, and particularly there's two large companies in Indonesia who control the vast majority of the pulp and paper industry. They're Asia Pulp and Paper and April. And so they're pulping rainforests, and they are converting on a mass scale diverse natural forest into monoculture tree plantations. Specifically, they're using a tree species called acacia. And so what's happening is that they're pulping the rainforest, they're putting this pulp onto the global market, and companies all over the world are buying it in the form of various paper products. So that's books, that's toilet paper, that's shopping bags, and consumers worldwide are essentially buying or getting rainforest destruction without knowing it.
My own executive producer, Daniel Marins, just sent me a note saying that deforestation accounts for 15% of greenhouse gases. So this is a big issue just in terms of our emissions, right, in terms of global warming?
It is, and Indonesia itself is actually the third largest greenhouse gas emitter in the world, right after the U.S. and China. And in Indonesia, differently from China and the U.S., the vast majority, about 80% of their emissions is coming from deforestation. So in Indonesia, it's a huge contributor to climate change, as well as just all of the other impacts of deforestation.
I want to bring in Daniel Marins right now. Daniel, take it away.
Robin, do you encounter any sort of resistance on the part of groups in Indonesia who think that, well, we're a developing country and we need this business from American publishers, and we really don't need outside Westerners sort of interfering with these industries that help us build our economy?
Yes, there's the industry interests, particularly the pulp and paper industry, is very influential. They basically grew up under the Suharto regime and have a great amount of political power within the current context of Indonesian politics. So the companies themselves clearly don't like pressure to change their model, but there's many people, many NGOs, many civil society members, community members who are fighting this in Indonesia. And so yeah, there's certainly resistance happening in Indonesia, but there's great consensus among the groups in Indonesia as well as outsiders to campaign and change the industry.
I guess when we traditionally think of attempts to control climate change, we think of things like cap and trade. We think of sort of smokestacks or other sort of more typical carbon emissions, oil rigs and things like that. Is there legislation in the United States or internationally, when we think of the Kyoto Protocol and other international climate change agreements, that would apply, that would also include the rainforests and deforestation? Or maybe that already does exist. I guess I Curious to know.
There is, and I have to admit this isn't my area of expertise, but there is, within the climate negotiations, there's a whole track called REDD or RED, and this is actually a framework in which there's been debate and basically there's been proposed funding where industrialized nations will put money on the table that would go to mostly, places like Indonesia or Brazil where there's large intact forests to help pay to keep forests standing. The state of REDD right now is a bit tenuous as is the overall climate framework at this point in international negotiations. There's also some work on this in California under the climate legislation here in the state. So under AB 32, California is also looking at how can we fund keeping forests standing in other countries as a way to essentially offset emissions in the state.
Robin, a question for you in terms of the consumer level. Is there anything particular we can do? I mean, for example, not buy books that are published by HarperCollins or let HarperCollins know that we're concerned about the impact that they are having on the rainforest? I mean, are these specific concrete steps that all of us can do or should do?
Absolutely. So the connection with HarperCollins is we actually did fiber testing on their books, and you can take paper from a book or anything actually and send it to a lab and get it tested and find out what tree species are in this paper. And we can see that, mixed tropical hardwoods and acacia were found, and mixed tropical hardwoods are essentially rainforest trees. And virtually all of that is coming from Indonesia. And so
should we be contacting HarperCollins, or should we be saying, hey, look, we're not buying any more books that you publish until you change this?
Absolutely. So there is action on RAND's website right now that people can go and take at rand.org to call on HarperCollins CEO to enact a policy that would ensure that this was not happening into the future. And certainly people should, go ahead and contact the company directly with their concerns, tell them that, until rainforest destruction, until they can be guaranteed that rainforest destruction is not in their books, they're going to be looking elsewhere.
Robin Averbach with the Rainforest Action Network. And again, the website is rand.org. People can get more information at rand.org. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, rand.org for everybody who cares about the rainforest, and I know a lot of you out there do. Letting HarperCollins know that you're not buying any more HarperCollins books until they change the sourcing on the pulp and it's no longer coming from the rainforest. Then we can all take action even with that. And Robin, we appreciate you being on the program. Thanks for being part of Take Action News, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Daniel Marins, as we continue and round out the segment here, I never sort of realized, just by purchasing a book that, I guess it makes sense that the pulp that goes into books, that this contributes to deforestation, but the idea that an American company, HarperCollins, has such a direct link to it struck me as somewhat surprising.
David, I think it's not that surprising when you consider that we have just an incredibly international and global economy. Every consumption that we make, just to take another example, right? The Walmart workers that were making clothing that were then sold in Walmart in that horrible fire at the factory in Bangladesh. We don't yet have an infrastructure for tracking the impact of our consumer habits in this kind of an economy. We now have the technology that makes it very easy for a company like HarperCollins to source their paper from all around the world, including in these extremely sensitive rainforests in Indonesia. And we've made it very easy for retailers like Walmart and Target to purchase clothing that's manufactured in terrible labor settings, but we don't have a great way of monitoring the consumer protections in those areas. We don't have a great way of monitoring the sensitivity of the actual wood from whence our paper goes. And comes, and that's sort of on us. We can test the paper after the fact, but there need to be, as part of trade agreements and as part of sort of our entire world economy, systems that get it before it starts, and make sure that there are really international regulations preventing how American companies can source their paper, and how yeah, I mean that's it.
That's look, it goes to show that there's I think we all have a certain civic responsibility that when we buy our books or we buy our clothes, that to have a better understanding about, okay, where does this material come from and how is it affecting our planet, the world around us? Because yeah, I suppose a lot of us will just go out and buy something because it's pretty or because it's cheap or we like that book or whatever. But there's so much more that's involved, and to the extent that all of us can be a little bit more aware and a little bit more knowledgeable of the impact of our decisions on a daily basis, then it certainly serves all of us and makes our community and makes our world better. And speaking of making our world better, everybody, coming up on Take Action News, Daniel Marin's segment, How It Should Be. Today's talking about gun violence and American exceptionalism. Well, Daniel explained that on the other side of this break. You're listening and watching to a very special edition of Take Action News, live streaming on takeactionnews.com. Also, of course, on the radio, nationwide, worldwide, through the We Act Radio Network. The program continues after this.